Welcome friends, in this video let's discuss about Nagoya protocol on access to genetic resources and benefit sharing. Convention on Biological Diversity led to an important protocol called Nagoya Protocol at the 10th Conference of Parties that held at Nagayo, Japan in 2010. So this Nagoya Protocol needs a little bit of background here. Here, the genetic resources which are present in the forest as well as other ecosystem has various benefits for the mankind. See, with the utilization of these genetic resources, various products which are useful for mankind can be produced. These include these genetic resources helps in research and development activities, and also it helps in producing various high yielding varieties of crop plants including rice, wheat, maize, bajra, corn, or various vegetables like tomato, potato, brinjal. Okay, and other important benefit from genetic resources is that it can be used for developing various drugs and pharmaceutical products which are used to cure various diseases. So these are all the important benefits from the genetic resources. The irony here is that these genetic resources are present in most of the least developed countries as well as the developing countries. So these forest resources are concentrated in these developing countries, but the benefit from these genetic resources are taken by the developed countries by way of their research and development activities, or by the multinational companies exploiting the genetic resources which are present in the developing countries and also developing products by utilizing the genetic resources. For example, a multinational company, a Syngenta, can produce various crop plants of high yielding varieties, okay, by utilizing genetic resources. And a multinational pharmaceutical company may produce a new novel drug by utilizing the genetic resources which are present in the developing countries. And then in the meantime, they are not sharing the benefit, they are not sharing the fruits of this research and development to these developing countries and least developed countries, because it should be shared, because they are using the raw materials, that is genetic resources which are presenting in the developing countries. So this Nagoya protocol is agreed to provide more incentive to the developing countries to conserve the biodiversity as well as genetic resources by providing the benefit sharing as well as monetary and non-monetary benefit sharing by the utilizers of these genetic resources, here the developed countries. So this Nagoya protocol will establish the rules and regulations, procedures that must be followed while accessing the genetic resources by various stakeholders including multinational corporations or private companies, research and development agencies. Okay, and the benefit sharing with the local community after commercializing these genetic resources. So this is the crux of this Nagoya protocol. Let's look at in detail. The Nagoya protocol on access to genetic resources is a supplementary agreement to the Convention on Biological Diversity. So this provides a transparent legal framework for the implementation of one of the three important objectives of Convention of Biological Diversity. So one of the important objective of Convention of Biological Diversity is that the fair and equitable sharing of benefits arising out of the utilization of genetic resources, thereby contributing to the conservation and sustainable use of biological diversity, as I discussed earlier. Here, the fair and equitable sharing of benefits, okay, arising out of utilization of genetic resources with the local community is the main aim of this protocol. Okay, and this protocol was adopted on 29 October 2010 in Nagayo, Japan, and entered into force on 12th October 2014. It has been ratified by 60 parties, 60 member countries. So what is the relevance of this Nagoya protocol? So this Nagoya protocol is intended to create a greater legal certainty, okay, and transparency for both providers, here the developing countries, most probably developing countries and least developed countries, and users of genetic resources, here the multinational corporation and various private companies as well as research and development agencies. So this Nagoya protocol provides the great legal certainty and transparency for both providers as well as the users of genetic resources. So this establishes more predictable condition for access to genetic resources, and it helps to ensure benefit sharing when the genetic resources leave the contracting party providing genetic resources. Okay, and it also helps in benefit sharing. the protocol creates incentives, okay, incentives to conserve the sustainable use of genetic resources. Because if you share the benefit of the commercialization of genetic resources with the local community, it will incentivize the local community to conserve more these genetic resources. Okay, so this is the crux of this Nagoya protocol, and the obligation on the member countries under this protocol is that it sets out the obligation for its contracting parties to take measures in relation to access to genetic resources, benefit sharing, and compliance. Okay, and let's look at the access obligation on the member countries. Okay, that is domestic level access measures under the Nagoya protocol. So Nagoya protocol wants to create legal certainty, clarity, and transparency in these areas, okay, access areas, and it provides fair and non-arbitrary, okay, rule of law and procedures, and it establishes clear-cut rules and procedures for prior informed consent and mutually agreed terms between the provider of genetic resources as well as the utilizer. Okay, and after that, after mutual agreement, it provides for the issuance of permit, which provide access to genetic resources, and it also create conditions to promote and encourage research and development activities contributing to the biodiversity conservation. So it also look after the human safety and public health, okay, along with other issues like benefit sharing, and it considers the importance of genetic resources for food and agriculture for food security. So these are all the important access obligation on the member countries. And benefit sharing obligation include, that is the benefit sharing, that is from the developing countries point of view, to provide fair and equitable sharing of benefits arising from the utilization of genetic resources with the contracting party providing genetic resources. So this is the if the genetic resources used for commercial operations, that must be shared with the local community because they are using the raw material of the local community. So benefit may be both monetary as well as non-monetary, such as royalties and sharing of research results, as well as by sharing of intellectual property rights with the local community. These are all the important things. And in order to enforce this Nagoya protocol as well as Convention on Biological Diversity related to access to genetic resources and benefit sharing, Government of India enacted an important legislation called Biological Diversity Act 2002. So the Parliament of India enacted Biological Diversity Act in order to enforce the rules and regulation under Nagoya protocol. So this is the thing here. The act defines the biological resources as plants, animals, microorganisms, and their genetic material and their byproducts. So these are all the things which are covered under this legislation. So this legislation establishes an statutory autonomous body called National Biodiversity Authority, headquarters at Chennai, under Ministry of Environment and Forest, which was established in 2002 to implement the provisions under the Act. So the provisions under the Act are implemented through National Biodiversity Authority. And each state, all the 28 states, has State Biodiversity Board to look after the provisions of the Act at the state level. Okay, and along with that, at the local level, we have 31,574 Biological Management Committee, BMC. Okay, these biological management committees look after the biodiversity issues at the local level. So this is the hierarchical structure to conserve biodiversity as well as to look after the issue of access to genetic resources in India. At the central level, NBA, National Biodiversity Authority. At the state level, State Biodiversity Authority. At the local level, we have Biodiversity Management Council. So this is the three-tier structure here. And the regulations which are laid down under the Biodiversity Act as well as National Biodiversity Authority is that if any foreigner or non-resident Indian or a foreign company or body corporate wants to access genetic resources from India, it needs to take permission from the National Biodiversity Authority. The reason for accessing genetic resources may be research, survey, or commercial utilization. So foreigners, before getting genetic resources in India, has to take permission from the National Biodiversity Authority. But for Indian citizens as well as for Indian private companies, they need to take permission from the State Biodiversity Authority. They do not require to go to National Biodiversity Authority for Indian citizens. and the result of research using the biological resources from India cannot be transferred to a foreign citizen without the permission of National Biodiversity Authority. So this is important. It regulates how the genetic resources must be utilized by the foreign countries. And however, no such permission is needed for the publication of research in any journal. Okay, if it is in collaboration with an institution approved by the central government. And another provision is that no permission should no person should apply for patent, okay, or other forms of intellectual property protection based on the research arising out of biological resources without the permission of NBA. Here, if the foreign company access the genetic resources in India, and if it develops any advanced technology or commercial product, it should not apply for the patent individually without the permission of NBA. So it has to take permission from the NBA before applying patent if it utilizes the genetic resources from India. Okay, and NBA while granting such permission may make an order for benefit sharing. Okay, it may order that the benefit arising out of that patent must be shared with the local community in the form of royalty or other means. Okay, so this is the institutional mechanism. Here the National Biodiversity Authority will provide permission to the foreign citizen as well as the non-resident Indian institutions which are set up in the foreign countries as well as the multinational companies, okay, for access to genetic resources present in India, which can be used for both research, biosurvey, bioutilization or commercial utilization. So this covers the international aspect. And the national aspect, that is the Indians and Indian institutions, private companies, has to take permission from the respective state biodiversity board which are present in the local area, okay, in order to get the genetic resources. So this is the institutional mechanism here. And the benefit sharing according to the act can be made through various means. These include the joint ownership of intellectual property rights, that is the patent rights can be jointly owned by the local community as well as the developer of the commercial product, and the transfer of technology. So if a new technology is found out with the use of genetic resources, it may be transferred to the local community as a means of benefit sharing. And location of production, research development units in the area of source can be taken up as a means of benefit sharing according to the act. And payment of monetary and non-monetary compensation can also be made to the local community by the MNC or the private company which are using the genetic resources of the local community. And setting up of venture capital fund for aiding the cause of benefit claimers. Okay, venture capital funds can be also be made. And here, since this is a legal document, legally binding document, this Cartagena Protocol on Biosafety, this Biological Diversity Acts also enforces penalties for the violators. Okay, and these penalties include the punishable with imprisonment for a term which may be extend up to 5 years. Okay, 5 years of imprisonment with fine which may extend to 10 lakh rupees. Okay, either 5 year imprisonment or 10 lakh rupee fine or both can be imposed as a penalty. And where the damage caused to the biodiversity or the local community is in excess of 10 lakh rupees, such fine may be commensurate, that is in proportion with the damage caused or with the both. Okay, here if the damage caused is more than 5 lakh, for example take instance for 50 crore rupees, then fine will be in relation to this 50 crore. Fine may be put around 40 or 45 crores to the party, like that. And any offence under this act is not non-bailable and cognizable. Here it is a non-bailable and cognizable offence under the Biological Diversity Act for violating its provisions. So this is it about Nagoya Protocol on access to genetic resources. Thanks for watching. Please share the video.